I've come from a good family. I've had a very good upbringing. I had everything I desired in terms of material things. Always went to the best schools. My parents did work very hard, and I do recall being at home a lot alone with my sister. But we did have a maid to look after us and clean up and tidy up after us. But as a result of being home alone a lot, my sister and I did get up to a lot of mischief. I think it all stems back to the first time I was molested. I was only little, I was only 5 years old. And how I reacted to that is like I just pretended that it never happened. And for many years I forgot about it. Until that horrid day that I was molested again at the age of 12. And being so close to puberty, it really did affect my life. From being a top A student, my grades dropped. I dropped out of sports teams. I started drinking. I started smoking. I started smoking cannabis. I started sneaking out the house, late at night without my parents' consent. Hanging out with boys that were way too old, for me. Getting myself into really awkward, situations because I didn't have my right head on, because I was underage and drinking, and that often led to awkward sexual situations that I didn't know how to, get out of. I felt violated a lot of the time. But as a result of that, I lost a lot of my self-respect. I don't think I really loved myself very much. Trouble seemed to follow me my whole life. Until one day I fell in love and I thought that love would solve all my problems. I ran off without my parents' permission. I got married. But unfortunately, falling in love didn't solve all my problems. It came with its own new set of problems. I started using Class A drugs, became very depressed, suffered from bulimia. As a result of all these additional addictions that I had, as a result, my relationship ended and we got divorced. And I remember being alone without my parents in South Africa, heartbroken with a drug problem and all alone, and I think that was the lowest point in my life. I remember going to my bedroom one evening after my husband had left me and throwing myself on the floor and crying my eyes out, asking God to please help me, because I didn't know what to do anymore. I believed in God, but I wasn't sure on how to believe. But it was a very special moment, because in my breakdown I remember screaming and throwing my hands in the air and crying my eyes out, and I remember falling asleep on the carpet, and about five hours later I woke up and I had this incredible peace, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to get on a plane, take a one-way ticket and go home to my parents in the UK, and that's exactly what I did. I decided to come to the UK to stay with my parents. I spent the first 3 weeks on the couch. It was very difficult to adjust to the new country, not knowing anybody. Obviously I had cocaine withdrawals, that wasn't very nice, made me very grumpy. I had depression, and obviously because of my divorce with my husband, I was very broken-hearted. But I decided to make the most of my new life in the UK. I had my family close to me, I got myself a good job, and things were looking better. For the first time I was taking some positive steps in my life, which was really good. But I still remember feeling very empty inside. Very lonely inside. I couldn't be alone with my own thoughts because I was scared of what I would think. So I kept myself really, really busy. I still hadn't told anybody about what had happened properly. I felt that I was to blame, felt very guilty for what had happened. Until one day I met this man. And he was a lovely man, we fell in love. But in the first year of our relationship we had a lot of problems. We used to argue all the time and fight all the time because, as I had issues, so did he, and two people in the same house with issues, it wasn't very nice. So we decided that we would take the challenge and go to counselling and sort our problems out, which was the first time in my life that I ever actually decided to do that. But I did it because it was the right thing and I wanted to be with him and I would do anything to be with him. And we both decided to take ourselves off to counselling, so we did that. It was a tough year, talking about things that I hadn't spoken about for 20 years. It was really hard. But on the other, after that year of counselling, I got answers to questions that I'd never had answered before. I realised that it wasn't my fault what had happened to me for the first time in my life. I believed since I was a little girl that I was responsible for all those bad things that had happened to me. So I felt this awesome sense of freedom and relief. And as a result, mine and Adam's relationship also blossomed, because he dealt with his things. So yeah, we started to grow. It was nice. Mine and Adam's relationship grew. We had a little family going. Everything was really good. I thought I knew everything about him until one day I went upstairs and I found him in the bedroom crying. I was like, asked him what the problem was, and he was crying. He was in tears. He was saying, I miss my God. And I was really taken back by this, because we'd been in relationship for 2.5 years, and I thought I knew everything about him, and this was the first time he was actually talking about God. So I said to him, what do you miss about your God? And he was like, no, I need to go to church. So obviously I wanted to make him happy, and I could see how upset he was about everything. So I decided, okay, I'll go to church. And I told him, don't expect anything. I said, but I'll go with you. So we went to church. My first experience of church was very different. I'd obviously never been to a church environment before, so it was very unusual for me. But I found the people really nice, really genuine, so full of life, genuinely happy, and have this amazing love for Jesus, As I said, it's something that I've never really experienced before. And I remember, because I've always believed in God, but just a little bit unsure on how to believe, what religion to follow, because I was really scared of getting it wrong, because God was obviously so important to me. But I remember sitting through the first service and closing my eyes and saying to God, I said, God, please, can you just guide me, guide my steps, guide my path. And as a result, needless to say, the next week I came back, and the week after that I came back. And I also decided to join a church team. I could see the change in my family. It was, remarkable, so positive, so happy. About 2 weeks after that, I gave my life to Jesus, and I haven't really looked back. I've become a more positive person. I have goals and ambitions. It's awesome, it's great, it's absolutely fantastic. I was baptised in 2011, and God gave me a clean and fresh start. All my sins from the past were washed away, and for the first time in my life I was pure and clean, and nothing from the past mattered. And for someone like me who had such a dodgy past, it was a great relief, it was a great feeling. A Christian life's a good life, it's a good clean life, but don't be mistaken, it's not an easy life, because as soon as you accomplish one hurdle or one obstacle, another one will come its way. But what makes me feel good about that is, if you're stepping out in faith and doing what God wants you to do, and not conforming to what society says that you need to do, you know that God's got your back. And if God's got your back, who can be against you? For the first time in my life, I'm not scared what tomorrow brings. It doesn't matter, because God's here to look after me, to look after my family. And God has blessed me abundantly, all aspects of my life, from personals to friends, to financials, to my family. God has been so good to me. And I just want everyone to know that you are more than your past.